in case you haven't been able to notice, it's Easter. As you look around at the bonnets, and the judges are watching closely. And could we have some light? Thank you. So as we go into a quiet place, I'd like to share with you part of a reading and part of a meditation that's been speaking to me all week. And I believe in my heart of hearts, it is the answer. We ask for rest today, quietness unshaken by the world's experiences. We ask for peace and stillness in the midst of all turmoil born of clashing dreams. We ask for safety and for happiness, although we seem to look on danger and sorrow. And we have the thought that will answer our asking with what we request. To everyone in this moment, I offer quietness. I rest in God. This thought will bring you to the rest and quiet, peace and stillness, and the safety and the happiness you seek. I rest in God. This thought has power to wake the sleeping truth in you, whose vision sees beyond appearances, to that same truth in everyone and everything there is. Here is the end of suffering for the world and everyone who has ever come and yet will come to linger for a while. Here is the thought in which the Son of God is born again to recognize himself. To everyone, I offer peace of mind. This is a day of peace. You rest in God, and while the world is torn by winds of hate, your rest remains completely undisturbed. Yours is the rest of truth. You rest in God, and while the world is torn by winds of hate, your rest remains completely undisturbed. Yours is the rest of truth. Appearances cannot intrude on you. You call to all to join you in the rest, and they will hear and come to you because you rest in God. They will not hear another voice than yours because you gave your voice to God, and now you rest in him and let him speak through you. And in this moment, I offer you quietness. I offer peace of mind. To everyone, I offer gentleness. And as we move through this stillness, the quietness, the peace, knowing that as we rest, as we lay down our arms, as we open our hearts to the beauty of who and what we are, individually and collectively. We open to a brand new day, a brand new dream, a brand new chapter, a brand new book. So as you very gently and in your own time and space come back to this very room, bring with you peace, stillness, gentleness, love, and joy. So, we've been following and witnessing the arrival for spring for the past 4 weeks. Good morning. And we looked at Lent as a time to give rather than to give up something. And if you remember, we had our chart up here with all of the things that you could take off and do in that 40-day period or for 1 week or whatever you chose to do in that time. And it was equally important, though, not only to give to others, but to give to ourselves as well. And you might not have made the entire 40 days, but that's okay because that part is unimportant. What is important that you became more aware of your thoughts and then your sequential actions. And each new thought creates a rebirth of consciousness. And that's what this is all about, the rebirth of consciousness, this Easter season, this spring season. So just as the flowers are blooming, are the flowers not beautiful? Blooming all around us today and showing signs of life. Just as we're doing that, we also know that the earth is in cycles, and we do this continually. We're in evolution. We're in a never-ending cycle of evolution. And allow me, though, to be the first to backtrack. So let's go back a little bit to Good Friday first. So metaphysically, it signifies that in our lives we will be subject to all sorts of trials and tribulations. But we should stick to our values against all odds because life is going to do what life does. And it doesn't mean that because you're the best person in the world, nothing's going to touch you, or that you're the worst person in the world and more is going to touch you. It means that it rains on the just and the unjust. So we are going to have tribulations in our life. Good Friday also signifies the extreme level of humbleness when we should even pray for those who have hurt us. It's very humble when you can look around. And, I know that in my tenure of almost 1 year here, that I have hurt some people, and I pray for them all of the time because it's when you realize that things that hurt you and how you wish not to feel that way, you don't want other people to feel that way too. So humbleness is very important, and that we should pray for those that we have hurt and that people have hurt us also. But also Good Friday it reminds us that no matter what, life goes on, and that we can rise up above what's happening. And that is the message of Easter Sunday. Before Good Friday, Jesus told his disciples 3 times of his impending death. And I find this 3 times interesting because I remember, and I went and pulled it out, reading a book by a Reverend, the book was Soar by Reverend Sorensen in California. And he was saying that he had a 3-story limit. And something happened in his life, and he heard himself repeating the story more than 3 times. And he had this silent warning that went off in his head, and it said, enough, do something about it and drop it. So what does this have to do with the Easter story? Simply this. Jesus was preparing his disciples for his death by letting him know that even though he would die, they needed to look beyond appearances and know that he would rise again. So Reverend Sorensen was doing the same thing in his story about the 3 times is enough telling a story, because what he realized is that he needed to rise above what was happening and go to his higher power. Despite appearances, one can soar above turbulence. So certainly and prayerfully, the challenges in our life are not at the level of Jesus on Good Friday, or as the Germans actually called it, Sorrowful Friday. But his triumph teaches us that we move beyond any seeming lack or limitation in our life. And if we hold on to the assurances of divine power present in every situation, we can meet challenges head on and through and rise as Jesus did in 3 days. But interesting, again, 3 days. I have heard many times in Hebrew, 3 days means in God's time. So if this is true, which I believe it is, then another lesson is this. When we surrender to God, it's in God's time, not in our time. 3 days doesn't mean Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. 3 days in Hebrew means in God's time. And the answers will be shown to us. And they're shown to us in mysterious ways. And that's why we love this teaching of understanding the mysteries of life. The Swami Ram Dass wrote this: place yourself as an instrument in the hands of God, who does the work in his own way. Think about that. Place your hands in the instruments of God. Yeah. And let God work through you. Each time that we reach deep within the recesses of our mind, heart, and soul and proclaim the truth of who we are, beloved child of the Supreme Being, you are resurrected and restored in mind and body. And you know that. When you have a beautiful morning, and you have a morning of either meditation or prayer or gardening or peacefulness, watching the birds or watching the river or the lake, it's restored. Something is renewed. Something comes up with you and that says, I give myself this peace. Today, as the Christian world celebrates then the resurrection of Jesus, I celebrate the eternal life in each one of you. I know for myself, and I know for each one here, that we are eternal beings, and the power of God moves through each one of us, and we accept this truth. Jesus rose to tell us we can overcome, we can pass on, and return to everlasting life, back to our Creator. There is no beginning of us, there is no end of us. There's just an evolution of us spiraling up. And then perhaps as we do whatever it is we do when we spiral up, we come back as beautiful earth angels. I'm sure some of you know many people in your life and you go, they must be an angel. And that's what I think. Each one of us has the power. We have that power to lift ourselves up higher and higher and higher, and removing anger, hate, fear, disappointment, jealousy, and greed. Today, let's get rid of that stuff. We can lift each other up to a higher level of kindness, goodness that we extend to all humankind. See, Jesus is known as the great way shower. But here's my question. Where is it written that we can't be the way shower too? We are all way showers. And how you're living your life, in the Christian world, sometimes they say, okay, so what would Jesus do in this situation? What would love do in this situation? So if that's too religious for you, what about this? How about a tougher unity question? What would the God within you do? What would your higher self do? If you were to go within and listen, what would you hear? If you really would listen, you'd hear the truth of the being, of who and what you are. Are you living your life from a blessing or curse? And it's that simple. Is it a blessing or is it a curse? Right? Are you living in heaven or hell? Heaven and hell are states of mind. They are not places. You choose each day. You choose each day how I'm going to live this day. You choose. Are you living in love or fear? Love or fear? So I'm asking you, as we're going into spring and letting the old die and the new come, are you willing to let the old die in you and begin a new life? To rise up and truly rest in the arms of love, in the arms of God. Are you willing to do that for yourself? Because, I spent one day not listening to the news, and then I turn on the news today, and I see again a terrorist attack and 200 more people and so killed. And I say, how do I reach within myself, and how do I reach everyone here to understand we have to stop it here in our own hearts and souls. And when we leave here, we have to carry whatever aha moment we got from a Sunday service in all churches, in all synagogues, in all mosques. How do we take that and use it all week to stop the hatred, the greed, and the fear? When Jesus returned from his so-called missing years, he returned as Jesus the Christ. Not Jesus Christ, but Jesus the Christ, the anointed one, the enlightened one. And I've spoken a few times about that Jesus Christ is not his last name, because in those days there were no last names. So why am I telling you this? Because if you didn't have a last name, so the town where they lived, he was Jesus of Nazareth. So maybe I'm Aubree of Sheboygan, the united one, the anointed one. Maybe my father was Aubree, son of Al, the paratrooper one. Maybe by trade I'm Aubree, the minister. What if we gave up our last name and added something of greatness, of joy, of enlightenment to it? Rodney, the smiling one. Vita, the angel voice of one. What if we gave ourselves a new name today that says and signifies who and what we are? We're a blessing to the world. We are a blessing to the world. What is the blessing that you bring to the world? What is it? What is that blessing to the world? I bring this up because it's important to understand in this faith teaching, unity, new thought. We do teach that we aspire to raise our consciousness. That's what we are here to do, to understand that there's something deeper with us, within us, and we're all on this journey, this path to enlightenment. And we want to raise that up, right? Raise up to the Christ consciousness. Not to worship Jesus, but to rise to the level of his consciousness. That's what we want to do. There's so many beautiful lessons in the Bible, and when you take them and metaphysically look at them, Jesus was the greatest metaphysician that walked the face of the earth. Didn't get my teeth in right today. Okay, so I gotta make you guys laugh. So each day then, when we reaffirm our faith and the love of the life force, there is a life force out there, and it is just here, and it's energy, and it's saying, open up and let me in. Just open up the third eye, open up your chakras, open up and let me in. I am here to serve you. I am here to serve you. You don't have to serve me. You don't have to pray to me. You don't have to say thank you. You have to allow me to love you. Are you allowing this universal force, this love, to hug and allow you? Are you allowing yourself to rest in peace? Are you? You can choose. You can redirect your life. There is within each of us secret qualities. What are your secret qualities? We have words that go with our with our vision and mission, and their love and integrity, and I don't know exactly what all it, but there are sacred words. And what are your sacred words? What are the words that would mean something to you? Are you love? Are you happiness? Are you integrity? Are you, are you blessed? What are the words that surround you? What is your code of ethics? See, when we surrender to the knowing of who we are, that's when we're going to be free. And it's not an arrogant thing. It's like, okay, I know who I am, I know what I stand for, and that's it. And then I don't care about you. Well, no, that's not knowing who you are. Knowing who you are is that every person I look at is a reflection of me because I'm seeing only good. If I don't see good in you, then I'm not seeing good in myself. So every time we look in that face of someone else, we have to say, what is it that we're seeing? What are we looking at? If we had a true warm spring today, I was thinking about this yesterday, because we're getting near the end, and I was thinking about this. It would have been great to write out all of the things that we don't want anymore and make a surrender garden and have a little patch of dirt where we just put a surrender garden and we put everything in it. So mentally in your mind, when you go home today and look at your yard, where could I put a surrender garden? What could I plant that I want to absolutely let the earth take and rejuvenate and bring forth something beautiful from it? All that is sweet, all that is amicable, all in this world, in the serenity of the air, the fineness of the seasons, the joy of light, the melody of sounds, the beauty, the colors, the fragrance of smells. If nothing else but heaven breaking through this veil of the world manifest in your life to such a degree that it's starting forth in such variety, so much of its own nature. The real source, the absolute real source of beauty is God. Here's an interesting story for you. So there's a story of a man from the Sierras who moved to Kansas. He built a big, beautiful house with huge picture window overlooking miles and miles of open range. As he looked out the window, he complained, there's nothing out there to see. At the same time, a man from Kansas moved to the Sierras and built a big, beautiful house with a big, big picture window overlooking the Great Sierras. He complained and said, I can't see a thing, the mountains are in the way. What is blinding you? What is it that you cannot see? What part of God, creator, source, love, infinite intelligence, what part of it are you still holding back that you just won't accept to be through your whole entire being? What are you looking at? And have you forgot there's a big, beautiful world out there? So open your eyes and see. See the gift that you are and choose today to soar above the clouds to a new beginning. Rise up. Rise up on the wings of a dove and know that you and your Creator are one. Be all you can be to yourself and your fellow man. Know that the great way-shower lives within you, and you too are the great way-shower. If the teachings of this man, Jesus, have survived for 2019 years, and I believe there's a lot of truth in them, then here's something I thought was interesting. Somebody sent me an obituary from Jesus. The last paragraph read as this: in lieu of flowers, the family has requested that everyone try to live as Jesus did. Donations may be sent to anyone in need. So today I ask you to live and treat yourself if you were the most important person in the world, and then treat your neighbor as yourself. Then no one would be in need. So I would like to finish today reading the rest of the morning reading that I was reading, because it sums up everything I'm saying. So I offer this to you. Each hour that you take your rest today, a tired mind suddenly made glad. A bird with broken wings begins to sing. A stream long dry begins to flow again. The world is born again each time you rest and hourly remember that you came to bring the peace of God into the world, that it might take its rest along with you. With each 5 minutes that you rest today, the world is near awaking, and the time when rest will be the only thing that comes closer to all worn and tired minds, too weary now to go their way. And they will hear the birds begin to sing again, see the stream begin to flow again, and hope reborn, energy restored to walk with lightened steps along the road that suddenly seems easy as they go. And today, I offer you peace, gentleness, and stillness. And so ends the lesson.